We know the time in a career that we love will someday come to an end. Seeing that approach and stepping into that unknown is an anxiety-filled situation. Knowing that we are too young to retire and too old to continue our passion. The day arrives and we are hit with mixed emotions. Our hard work and devotion has paid dividends when you hear your job is now complete and you have completed a job well done. On the other hand, we will miss the clowns, but we will not miss the circus. During our time in law enforcement, we have seen the highs and lows of every situation. We have seen the horrors of life, and we have seen man's inhumanity to man. But we have felt victories beyond compare and understanding of the general public. We have lived our life of service and completed our civic duty, knowing that we have no more to give. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Felice, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button like Tom Flynn hits the Rogaine aisle at his local drugstore. Subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to, when we're up to it. So Tom, tonight, we had to pivot a little bit. It's going to be you and I, because it's a topic I want to discuss tonight that I think every person, not just in law enforcement, I think every first responder deals with this at one point in their life. And that's the ultimate time when you have to retire. And usually when you retire, you're either in your late 40s, early 50s, too young to retire, too old to keep doing your profession, but you got to find something. So tonight we're going to talk about post-police careers.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one, I feel.
We could make it first responder careers, but we were cops, so we're going to stick with that. And if you don't like it, tough shit. So Tom, but thanks for coming in, Tom. You know, you're always here. You're always somebody I can anchor myself to. And listen, if you need me to go out and get you Rogaine, I will certainly go do it for you.
Was that on the fly, or did you have that pre-planned?
Oh, that one's on the fly.
That's pretty good.
I'm doing the intro, and I'm like, I got to do something. Yeah. So, yeah, I had to bring it in there.
I'll take that one. Instead of the other ones, I'll take that one every day.
Usually it's some sort of homosexual reference. But
exactly the reason I'll take it.
Yeah. Before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police. We certainly don't trust anybody as Rogaine users, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car and you're in the New York, New Jersey area, go to ToyotaHackensack.com and let them find you a car. Also tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. All right, Tom.
Here we go.
I picked out this social media question for you. What is your biggest pet peeve? This comes from Stan Stands Up. And it can't be mine, because mine is very simple. It's my pet peeve is not locking the door before you go to the bathroom, you pervert.
They call that a certain kind of checker where I'm from, and it's happened more than once. And you're the violator.
Yes, I am the violator, because somebody's they forget that they're in a civilized society, and we lock doors in civilized society when we're doing our business.
I mean, I don't know.
So Tom, what's your pet peeve?
So I have two, but I'm going to limit to one. I'm going to mention the first one is laziness, low hangers, but I'm going to put that number two. The first one I'm going to say is arrogance. When I meet somebody who's arrogant, it becomes very transparent, right? Anybody who advertises accomplishments and starts saying all these great things that they did, like you correct me all the time for being self-deprecating. Mm-hmm. Because I do get compliments on some things, and I just don't know how to handle it, to be quite honest. I will get good points, the Rogaine notwithstanding. But there's times that I get a compliment, and for some reason I don't know how to handle it. I don't really know where that comes from. Well, we'll have to talk to our mental health team and find out where exactly that's rooted in. But arrogance, for me, it's hard for me to bounce back from somebody who introduces themselves to you, and you just see they're pompous, smug, and arrogant, and I find it difficult to get beyond that, even if they're a relatively solid person. I find that to be completely off-putting.
Have you ever had this come up where another adult comes up to you equal or maybe even just a little bit higher, and they introduce themselves as Mr. or Mrs.? It's like you're a 50-year-old man, right? And if I came up to you, hey, I'm Mr. Donaldson. Well, that to me is arrogance, right? I'm like, who the fuck are you, man? Listen, you don't, two adults do not introduce themselves as Mr. or Mrs. Now, if you're a doctor or you're something like that, I understand that. That's a little bit different of a respect. But even that is got a level of arrogance to it.
I would agree.
Yeah, I don't really care for arrogant people, but I have a good way of verbally castrating them, as somebody so succinctly put it to me today.
I have a couple of those too. When somebody says they're a doctor and they're actually a doctorate, and can I have a prescription?
Yeah.
Write me a script.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's subtle, but we see it in law enforcement when you have somebody that introduces themselves by rank.
Oh my God, I got a great story for this one. Great story.
Yeah. All right, let's hear it.
So there was a new sergeant. Now, mind you, I have a title where I work right now, but most of the police in the place that I work, who I interact with very frequently, they know I'm a retired cop, and it's like, hey, I'm Mark, I'm Steve, I'm whatever. Well, this person comes up to me and says, hey, I'm Sergeant so-and-so. And I look at him, I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? I asked him, I looked right at him, I go, did your mother give you that name? All right, so you're going to call me by my title and my last name. So if we're going to play this game, I'll play this game too. And don't ever fucking talk to me again. That's exactly what I told him. The guy calmed down. He was brand new sergeant. The guy calmed down afterwards, and I actually became friendly with him. But I told him, I was like, dude, that was the height of arrogance, man. It did not make you look good, nor did it gain you any respect with me.
No, not a great look. And people like that generally have the email signatures that are like 3 paragraphs long with all the titles on it. Like, I get it. Sometimes you're proud of your accomplishments. You figure it's going to carry clout, as they say. Mm-hmm. Backfires in my mind every time.
See, for me, my pet peeve, you mentioned it, it's laziness. So there's two that go hand in hand, right? There's laziness and there's ignorance. Ignorance doesn't bother me that much because ignorance means you can be educated. You take somebody who's ignorant on a subject, they might be arrogant and think they know everything, but laziness is like a virus. Laziness is like a disease. One person in your team is lazy, it will infect everybody else there because they're gonna say, oh, well, this person's getting paid as much as I am, so they're lazy. I'm going to be lazy too, and that's how it sort of filters down. You see it in every walk of life, whether it's a job, whether it's sports. Coaching sports, I've seen this. I will pick out the lazy kid and I will zero in on him because that will infect everybody. Laziness is probably one of the worst afflictions that anybody could ever have. And there are some people who are just naturally lazy because they've been enabled their whole life. So I don't accept laziness. If you say, I don't have time to do this, I call bullshit. I really do call bullshit. You know how busy I get, right? You know how much stuff I have on my plate, and I always somehow get it done. I might get a little overwhelmed from time to time, but I always end up getting it done, while carrying on a full-time job, while being a parent, while being a coach, while doing this podcast, while traveling. So I just don't accept. That's the one answer that I don't accept from somebody who I know is lazy. You can find time. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to eat healthy. Bullshit. You lack discipline. You are lazy. And those lazy people, I got to be honest with you, I will shut them down out of my life because I think laziness is the worst thing you could possibly be on this earth.
Yeah, guys on the job, I know some of the lazy ones. The ones I actually appreciated more, I'd say it's not a likable characteristic, but if they owned it and say, hey, listen, I'm not a ball of fire. One guy, I'll leave the name out of it.
Yes, please do.
And I had an assignment for him as a boss, and he kind of looked up at me and he goes, I'm kind of like, in the PD, I'm like a college mascot. I put on the uniform, but I don't really play. But he owned it, and, it was kind of endearing. Not great. Still not a great quality, but the failure, I'd rather see a failure or somebody who can't do something, but they gave 110%.
Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Alsop. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryalsop.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
That's the Danson and Highsmith, right?
Okay.
When Michael Keaton comes in on the other guys from the movie The Other Guys and says, here's Danson and Highsmith's paperwork. You know they're not going to do it, so who wants to take it, right?
Exactly.
You know, and you just, I guess, but still, even those people, I will sit there and purposely, like if you're a go-getter and you are anything but lazy and you're overwhelmed, I'm going to help you out.
Yeah.
All right. Even if I don't have the time, I'm going to help you out. But if I see somebody that's lazy and they need help, I'm like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
A little bit of self-help there. You got to motivate, man.
Right.
And about time. It's a matter of it's not about not having time. You have to sacrifice something.
Correct.
A little bit of sleep, family time or friend time or downtime.
Or like you, dating time.
Yeah. Careful. Things are changing. Things are changing for the better.
I kid. I'm like, I'm like Crudell. I'm going to channel in my inner Crudell. So Stan stands up. Thank you for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. So, Tom, the inevitability is once you get the police job, someday you are going to have to retire, whether you age out or whether you get your 25 in or whether you do your 20 or your 30. Sometime you're going to age out. So it's inevitable that we are going to somehow have to leave a job that we love. Some of us don't really have the choice. You and I are in both the same boat on that one, and it's kind of chosen for us, but it puts us in the same position, when that time is up, when that bell rings, that final bell rings for us. And I've watched cops go through one of the most anxiety-filled moments of their life because they have to retire. And they don't know what to do because they put their whole life into something that definitely has an end date. So I want to talk about that tonight. But before we talk about that, Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your skin color so light.
Good Irish genes, man.
So tell me about some of the jobs that you had prior to getting into police work.
I remember my first sort of job when I got working papers. I don't know if they actually even still do that anymore.
They
right?
don't.
Working
I just went through it with my son. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was anxious to sort of make money or just do something and be able to sort of fend for myself. But there was a local business in my hometown in northern New Jersey, and it was a business where a friend of mine had worked, and he started making money and stuff. And I said, yeah, I want to make my own way. Raised as a very hardworking individual from my father, I would say mainly. But there was this little fruit basket, and don't go in the wrong direction. I know you want to go someplace.
You sat in a basket and just stand on the side of the road?
Yeah. But it was like a fruit basket gourmet company, and they're pretty popular. And some other, young kids had started working there. But it was a very, very hard job. And I remember my first day, I showed up for that job, and I said, hey, I'm here to work. Tell me what to do. And the first job that they gave me is they gave me a container of what they call janitor in a drum. I don't know if they would still make it, but it's like a cleaner, basic cleaner type thing. And, okay, see that line of garbage cans in the dumpster over there? Here's the janitor in the drum. Go hose them out. We want them spotless. And I was like, hey, I came here to work, and you're the boss, and I want to show you I'm the best. So I cleaned every single garbage can out of there, and I thought they had something else for me to do, and they said, no, go home. Came back the next day in like the worst clothes that I thought I was going to clean garbage cans again. I said, all right, where's the other garbage cans? And they say, nope, kid, you're all right. I know anybody that spends a day in like the hot August sun in northern New Jersey and cleans out garbage cans, you're going to be a worker. And then I did some other things, and I wound up working there for quite some time, even up through like college.
That was a vetting process for them.
And I like that style.
Yeah.
Like, I like that. They're going to test you a little bit to see if you're just industrious, if you're a hard worker.
Well, whenever in my current job, and even in the police world, whenever somebody new came on, and I would just give them this one piece of advice: don't be a load. Don't be a load. Right? Which is kind of the same thing. They did it little, you know, off script a little bit with you. But nevertheless, it's the same thing. You got to make sure these people are willing to do the dirty stuff, because you're never going to get the good jobs until you do the dirty jobs. Not everybody wants to do that these days. You know, my first job, I delivered papers since I was about 7 years old. I've always had a job, and delivering papers is a whole lesson in resilience, because it doesn't matter whether it's hot, whether it's cold. You have no summers. You have no days off. You got up early. You delivered the papers, and you went to school. So it was a 7-day-a-week job, and I did that from when I was from 7 until probably 17. Most of my life, I've had 2 jobs, but it taught me a lot. It taught me how to get myself up early. I'd have to pedal to my paper route, deliver papers. And you have to deal with, back in those days, it wasn't a mail-in thing, right? So we would have to go and collect. And some people were never home. Some people, believe it or not, for the $2.10 for the week of the paper, they would hide from you. It was crazy. And then people would give you tips, and then there's Christmas tip. But it was money. It was money that I had ever since I was 7 years old. And it was a tough job. It was a good job. I don't think I would ever do it again. But when I was 13, my first real job, because that paper delivery, I'm sort of my own boss. I got a job at a car detailing place when I was 13. And it was a guy who owned it, and his 2 daughters worked there. One daughter was like a year older than me, and the other daughter was younger than me. And they would fuck everything up. Okay? They would fuck everything up. And it's hot in there. It's summertime, right? It's a summer job. It was so freaking hot. And you're sitting there and you're soaking wet. You got your thighs are rubbing together, and you're going to start a fire. So you go home with a big rash. It was an awful job. But what was going on was the girls would do a car, and they would mess it up so bad. And then when the father called them out on it, they would blame it on me.
Right? There you go. Nice.
So I actually got fired from that job. It's the only job I've ever been fired from. I worked there for 2 weeks. And when they fired me, I was like, all right, I'm good. I don't need to, so I got the rest of the summer off. It wasn't that bad.
It eats at you to this day, I can tell.
It does, because I've never been fired from a job.
Yeah.
And I didn't get fired from a job because there was times I went in early to, somebody got paint on their car. You had to try to remove the paint and stuff. But I worked my ass off. But the guy's like, hey, it's just not working out. It's just not working out. You're missing stuff. And I'm like, I'm not missing stuff. It's your daughters. Like, what do you do? You take a look. So whatever happened. I don't think the place is still in business, so.
Tough line to sell when you have to blame it on the boss's daughters, right? That's probably not going to go anywhere.
They're always going to choose blood. So from there, and then you have different transitions of jobs, right? So you have your first job, and then you have like your other high school job. Like my high school, I worked in my high school over the summer, and we did the floors. We used to say we're unionized. We're local 50 floors. And that was a fun job because I was working with people I knew, my friends, and we got the run of the school. And, listen, I'd go to the bathroom in the nuns' bathroom, stuff like that. It was,
Good Catholic boy, just like me.
Oh, no, I wasn't Catholic, so I was a complete heathen. If I clogged their toilet, God doesn't frown upon that.
Oh, man, I had permanent detention plus 18, I think, in grammar school when I went to Catholic grammar school.
So what was your high school job, or did you stick with this same job?
I stuck with that one for a while, and then that law enforcement seed kind of got planted, and I started doing stuff that was actually very interesting. I did stuff with private investigations, so I became a private investigator. The first one was I was assigned as an undercover operative in a large chain wholesale store. So there's only 2 of them you can probably think of, and one of them is the one. But I was an undercover operative working in this wholesale warehouse environment, and basically I was like the narc. So I was acting as a stock person, and the hours were 4 a.m. to noon. And I'd have to stock like the warehouse for the retail floor. But in actuality, after that 4 a.m. to noon shift was over, I would have to go back and write investigative reports. And mainly it was about like company policy violations and things like that. But I mean, you've seen the food industry. Well, the warehouse industry is probably not far behind. There were people doing tons of cocaine, forklift operators getting tanked.
Where was this again? Are they hiring?
Yeah, right. It's like Hedonism 1. I guess they had Hedonism 2. This is Hedonism 1. But they were stealing things hand over fist. And it gave me a little zeal, what I thought would have been undercover work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of, I was like, it's hard work, but it's kind of cool, then doing the reports and all that. And then I moved on to another private detective agency. At one point, I worked for the agency Bo Dietl.
So you were actually a dick.
I was a private dick.
You were
not a public dick.
Not a public
private
dick. You were a private dick.
Yeah, but I was doing a lot of surveillance work. And everybody thinks like surveillance, like you're sitting in this like high-speed van with all the microphones. No, it was a solo job. You don't get to use a public bathroom because if you have to set up on your target, I'd have to surveil them for matrimonial issues, workers' comp, and you'd have to do ruses to actually identify the target at a house. So if I'll give away one of the tricks of the trade. I don't think it's even used anymore. But say you had to identify, you had a name, an address, but you just didn't happen to have a photo, you would have to come up with some way to find out who the person is, if they're at home, what they look like, so you could surveil them for the rest of the day. So one of them was a lost dog ruse. So you'd actually carry around a dog collar with the tag on it and a dog leash, and you'd just kind of go around, walking around the neighborhood, and you'd actually ring a doorbell. And if somebody came to answer, you would talk with them and try and engage them in conversation, tell you who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to follow them like around town for like 8-12 hours, and it was tough work.
So when I was a cop, there was a cop in town, and a PI, a kid, was surveilling him because he had a workers' comp case going, and some lawyer put him on there. And he called it in one day, hey, there's a suspicious car down the street, because this kid had no clue what he was doing. There's curtains up on the side of this little minivan. I'm like, what are you doing? And so we go over there, and we open up the door, and this poor kid, I go, what are you doing? Bus stop's right there. You looking at kids? Because there's cameras set up and stuff in there. I'm like, you looking at kids? Is that what you're doing? And, you know, we were trying to cover for our friend, and he wasn't. He was really hurt, but yeah, that's the stuff they do.
It's interesting where I had a there was one case where I had, it was two of them actually have come to mind, but the first one was somebody who in upstate New York, Elmira, New York.
Mm-hmm.
If you know anything
about
about Elmira, economically depressed, like not a great place to live. But the guy had a full-blown workers' comp case, and his trade was he was a lumberjack. Like, you don't really hear about that, but he was a lumberjack, and he sure as hell was working as a lumberjack. And I had to get in like a deer suit, deer camo, hunting camo, and actually set up video and video him for a period of time. And he made me and approached me.
Well, you shouldn't do that to the Bunions. They're a good household.
Right?
Yeah, they're a good household.
It was, I mean, it's a little harrowing because there's nothing that you had. Like, they had a little private investigator badge, but like if the local PD showed up or something, it was a little, it was a little touch and go, just like you.
Yeah. So when you went to college, did you keep that job, or, you know?
I worked actually at the old Giant Stadium for a while. And one of the best things I think about Giant Stadium when it was the T-shirt vendors. So all the like off-brand T-shirt vendors, and it was fun because they'd always run, and it was kind of like the thrill of the foot chase, right? Like a foot chase. Listen, they're high speed when you're a cop, but it was actually fun, kind of chasing these guys. And the marshals actually were detached at that point, the U.S. Marshals, because trademark infringement fell under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Marshals, believe it or not. So you could always tell them at the time. I'm sure they've done it better now, but in Giant Stadium, they would always have the Maryland plates because I guess that's where all the marshals were registered out of. So it was kind of interesting.
My college job was one of the best jobs I ever had in my life. And listen, full transparency, I got kicked off campus when my junior year of college, so I wasn't allowed to live on campus, and I actually had to get a job to pay for housing and my apartment and stuff like this. So I started waiting tables. Waiting tables to me is one of those jobs I believe everybody should do in their life because it teaches you about so many different things. It teaches you how to work with other people, how to deal with the general public, which in and of itself is complete suffering. It showed you, you don't get paid too much, so you better be nice, and how to read a table and how to deliver food to them because you're their entertainment. But it's a sustainable job. You can make decent money at it. But I had more fun. If you want to find out what waiting tables is like, the most appropriate movie is the movie Waiting with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
That is probably the closest movie to what waiting tables as a young adult is like. There's always one person in there that they're like career waiters or waitresses, right? And that's all they do, and they've been there forever, and they're very jaded. But then you have this younger population, and all we did was party, is hook up with one another. It was a crazy, crazy experience. I did more stuff when I was waiting tables. And another thing too is I never paid for food, so I got to eat for free. But I also did some stuff that I'm really not proud of because people were mean.
A lot of vices go along with the food industry, boy. I mean, you're working those long hours, and I think one thing you said that resonates with me is everybody should do it because I think it would change perspective as a patron, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have never, ever in my entire life treated wait staff, whether it's the bottom basement, like Greasy Spoon, or like a higher end restaurant. Like you be nice to them, man.
Especially before your food comes out.
Yeah.
So, again, I think statute of limitations, and I won't say, I'll speak about this in a third party because I would never.
No.
I would never. But when somebody's a dick to you, I mean, just like a true dick, you screw up, that's one thing. But if somebody's just like a true dick and treats you like your gum on the bottom of their shoe, you tend to, some people I know may have done things to their food, okay? And they served it, and we would sit there and we'd watch them eat it, and like, yeah, I've seen some stuff, and there's certain restaurants I'll never eat at. But here's what it did for me. It got me used to dealing with people on a level, knowing that I'm trying. You have to identify when somebody's trying. So when I go out to eat, I know when the waiter or waitress or the server, whatever you want to call them, I know when they're phoning it in, and I know when they're giving their full effort. Hey, listen, shit goes wrong. Kitchen could be screwing up. The drink machine could be busted. There's a bunch of stuff that can go on. But you also can identify when they're trying. And when they're trying, that's when the appreciation comes in. I will never treat anybody poorly. I'll never treat anybody beneath me. But also, I'll get a little ticked off when I know that they're really just not doing their job.
Yeah.
Because I know what that job's like. And sometimes I'll throw a warning shot over their back. Look, I waited tables. I know it's tough. Just boom, boom, boom. But at the other time when they're not doing their job, I'm not gonna be happy.
You did like they did on the viral video, right? You took a bath in the deep fryer. You had to do something. There's a little bit of
Not me. I would never do that. I would never ever do that. But I've seen people wash body parts in soda.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've seen chicken breasts get kicked on the ground and then get put on the grill. Yeah.
Special sauce.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you see the restaurant business for a whole different thing. There was years went by when I wouldn't go out to restaurants.
Well, there's a translation there, I think, for law enforcement, right? Like maybe that's a building block right there, because dealing with people who are arrogant or maybe putting on a show for their date or somebody else is there, because maybe they're not even angry at the wait staff, but they're trying to look tough in front of whoever else is sitting at the table, putting on a little show.
They'll be snarky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had one guy give me which I thought at the time was a horrible tip. He gave me a Morgan silver dollar as a tip, and he did it. You got to remember, this is early '90s. Morgan silver dollars weren't worth what they were today, so it was literally probably worth $3 or $4, which was a real shitty tip. What he gave me, joke's on him because it's like $40 now. So, and I actually still have it.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's like 1887 or 1878 Morgan silver dollar.
I'd like to see that check from the table. I'd like to see like what the bill was.
Well, the one time I can remember the one time I almost got fired. It was a $150 bill, and they left $3. And it was like a party of 10. You know,
Forgot to carry the one. Bad math on that one, hopefully.
and so I took their $3 and I handed it back to them. I said, I think you need this more than I do.
Yeah.
And the management wasn't real happy with that.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know, and then after that, I graduated college and I get this job. I start teaching high school, and it's everything that I was working towards. And here was the problem. I'm thinking, hey, I found my career. This is what I've been working for. This is what I want. Life has a way of throwing you some curveballs. I started teaching high school, and I loved working with the kids. Okay, they were wonderful. I wasn't that much older than them, but the other teachers really pissed me off. And I was like, I can't do this. So all that schooling I went through, getting a job that I was working towards for a very long time, it was not for me. That was supposed to be my career. I looked in the mirror one day and I said, I cannot do this for 35 years. And I put in my resignation, and that was it.
What was it about the teachers that rubbed you the wrong way so much?
The way they spoke about the kids was disgusting. Okay, and these were kids, there's some bad kids, you know, and there's bad kids in every school. And I learned a lot of lessons from the kids, like how to give people proper directions. Just a quick aside on this, we were reading The Marriage of Heaven and Hell by Wayne Blake. And in The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, there's something called the Proverbs of Hell. And what it is just little pieces of advice. The cutworm forgives the plow, the busy bee has no time for sorrow. Universal pieces of advice that were true 450 years ago, and they're true today. So being a brand new teacher, I thought I was going to give these high school seniors a task that would stimulate their brain. And the task was, if you were talking to somebody 450 years in the future, and you were going to give them a piece of advice that is true today, and you believe that it'll be true 450 years in the future, what would it be? All right? I thought it was a great assignment. It was something stimulating. It was a homework assignment. And most of the people came in, and you know, I think the class was like 28 kids or 30 kids, and most of the people did their best job. They got to remember, they're 17, 18-year-old kids. Then I have two kids in the back, you know, the back-sitters.
Oh, yeah.
The first one comes up, and he hands in his paper, and it says, if you shake more than twice, you're playing with yourself. I got to tell you, like, yeah, that's going to be true in 450 years.
It is.
And the second one said, if you play with it, you'll go blind. So that lesson right there from that job taught me that when I give instructions and you follow those instructions, but it's still wrong, that's shame on me because I did not give you proper instruction. So I had to have the kids redo it. And I said, listen, it's funny. I'm 21 years old. I'm like, that's funny, but you got to redo it.
Yeah,
you know?
you get the joke.
Yeah.
But
so when was it the first time, how did you enter in your police career?
the football star, our quarterback from Queen of Peace High School, came back for a career day. And I didn't jump into law enforcement after that. He's a New Jersey state trooper, squared away. Obviously, he had like the prettiest girlfriend. He was, had everything you'd want in high school. But the uniform of the state police really just commands respect. And he just carried himself in such a way that he was doing something that he believed was important. And even though I come from a very broken or divided family, not a great child upbringing, it's weird. You think all these things I did, like private investigations and stuff, it's not your normal job that somebody might go for. I felt like my life was entirely boring without purpose. And I wanted to do something that I could tell stories about, something I could pass along to the generations.
Well, that's a job they make movies about.
Because it's really like, I mean, it throws you some curveballs. You got to be quick on your feet. It's just not your average, like, hey, how was the day work? Like, oh, I made 10 widgets today and came home, or I sold something. It was something that you could be creative. You could use sort of the parts of your brain that maybe don't get worked. But I thought my life was really boring. And in actuality, it wasn't. My life was pretty screwed up. But I just felt it was boring. So the law enforcement thing I saw, and I started reading books. It's one great book. It's called True Blue. I forget the author.
I know the book.
But it's almost like short stories and anthologies of these police stories. And one that stuck out in my mind, there was a horrific car wreck. And there was an infant that was supposedly in the car, and they're searching, and they can't find this infant. They don't know where the infant is, and they kept looking and looking. And it's like a page turner. I'm reading this, and it turns out that the infant was ejected and was impaled on a tree. Now, that might strike horror into some people's like, why the hell would you want to do that? You're getting a backstage pass to the show of life. And like, you want to see all the good, the bad, the ugly, and somehow be a part of making it better, or being some type of stopgap in between the ugly, the bad, the defenseless. And I said, this might be something to do.
Now you are in something that you can actually make a career, you can make a living at, and it's purpose.
Really, it was because I wanted to start a family, and I knew some of these other jobs was just not conducive to that. You're not going to have a pension. A pension was a big deal. Pay, and you saw that the end pay was something that you could live a reasonably adequate lifestyle. You know, you could maybe have a home, own a home, and start a family. That was one of the objectives. But I wanted to do something that people would be proud of me. I didn't think I had made my mark in life. And I wanted to make a mark with something that's important. And some cops go through an entire career. You never know their name, never know their badge number. But I always thought there'll be this incident that I'm going to inject myself in, and it'll become something noteworthy to pass along. I think it started in the police academy. Lots of jobs have trade schools, you know, electricians and apprenticeships and all these other things. But then there's college, and college is just like a blurry kaleidoscope of knowledge. How much of it's really applied? A fraction. In the police academy, really, almost everything you learn is applicable in some way.
College is a fantasy world. Okay,
Yeah.
it's taught by professors who are never in the real world or had limited information in the real world. They're teaching theory on subjects, whatever your major is. It's kind of like back to school, right? Where the professor teaching economics to Thornton Mellon, he's not going to be as good as Thornton Mellon.
The Great Gatsby, he's great.
He's great. I found it by accident. I was never looking to be a police officer. It was sort of just happened by chance. And like you, I was sold this bill of goods that, hey, you got a pension, you get your benefits. Back then they were paid for and everything was done. And it was a job that, well, you won't be rich, you'll be okay. But the day I found out that this was my career, so I took it as a job. And this wasn't a purpose-driven life. This was to me, when I took it, another job. The day I found out that it was a career was 9/11, because I got recalled to my department. I was in the police academy. We got ripped out. I was given my gun. I'm like, holy shit, this is cops and robbers for real. But I saw people, and I talk about this very frequently. I saw people coming up to me, and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They're looking for answers. Little did they know we had no more answers than they had, because actually they had probably had more because they were watching the news. We were standing post. But you pretty much had to fake it until you make it. You know, you had to try to give them some sort of solace, even though you didn't have any of the answers. So that's the day I was like, oh, okay, I understand what this is. And you know, from there, I had this storied career that built day after day after day. And every day it was something new and exciting. And I'm not going to say every day, because some days were very boring. But, you know, when those things popped off, you did things that when people drive down the road and they rubberneck and they're trying to see beyond the lights, you were actually there and you got that front row seat, like you said. But that's when I found out that it was a career. But one of the things I always was very conscious of is the old timers. I always looked at them. They're in the sunset of their career. They're fading off into the distance, and you watch them as they're getting close to retirement, because there was two types of cops. There was those cops that were counting down the days till they hit their 25.
Yeah.
And then there were the other cops that they have no plans in the world of ever leaving, because they don't know what to do.
Yeah, the first one's the ROD, right? Retired on duty.
Yeah.
Right? They're just like, buying time.
That's it.
Marking time.
But those people that didn't know what to do, those were the people that scared the hell out of me. Because I watched this as they're hitting their 25 and beyond. They're like, well, I can go at any time. Well, why don't you? Because one of the first things, the head of the police academy was a guy named Charlie Offsack, who passed from cancer. He's a great guy. One of the things he told me, he goes, there's only one good reason to stay past 25 years. And he goes, that's because you love your job. Because the amount of money that you'll make upon retirement in police world was at the time, it was like $300 or $400 less. Okay. And he goes, if you can't go out and make $300 or $400 a week or a month, shame on you. Shame on you to do that. Second is live within your means, within your lifestyle, because that's another problem with cops. They rely on overtime, they rely on road jobs, and that becomes part of their salary and part of their lifestyle. So they can't retire. I've seen this time and time again. And I used to see it when I would work with officers who are in shootings. I'm like, dude, why don't you retire? He goes, I kind of rely on the overtime. I really can't make it without it. But bottom line is they're just afraid.
Yeah.
You know, it comes down to that quintessential word, that fear, that false evidence appearing real, because they don't know what else to do. They're late 40s, early 50s, and they're like, oh my God, I got to start over again.
I had one guy who was a boss. He made rank, actually ascended to the rank of lieutenant in my agency, and his time was coming close.
Is his name Tom Flynn?
No, no, different guy. But there were people, you know, the young bucks were kind of nipping at his heels because they wanted the promotional spot. And, you know, 2 ranks up, he got sergeant, lieutenant. You know, there's a couple of spots. If he left, it would open up opportunities for others. And he was feeling the pressure from the young guys. And I had a talk with him when we were working midnights. And it was just him and I, and didn't even bring up retirement. He volunteered this story where he saw somebody that had retired. And he saw this person retired and wasn't getting sort of the appreciation or the acknowledgement of the uniform. And he also wasn't getting like the perks, you know, like the free cup of coffee or the little like, hey, how you doing? And he goes, look at him. Look, this guy, he retired and now he's in Florida, and he goes, he's a nobody. He's a nobody. You're not a nobody just because you're retired. You're somebody, and you put all of your value just in the rank, when that might show maybe you should have done a little more personal development.
If you're nothing without the rank, that means you're nothing with the rank. You know, that's my opinion on that, and I firmly believe that, because the minute you walk out the door, somebody's going to forget you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we've gotten a front row seat to this on a different level. We weren't able to do our full time and then have to walk out and all that stuff. Our careers kind of got cut short on this stuff. Yeah, you're not nothing. It's just you're not a cop anymore. You're not a cop anymore. And but here's the one thing. Being a retired cop carries with it some sort of credibility. It really does. You did your time, or you know, whatever, however it ended, like that. But with us, we kind of got the job ripped from us.
Very unceremoniously.
Correct. And there's no gold watches, there's no walkouts, there's no shadow boxes with all your badges in it. And one day we showed up to work, and the next day we didn't show up to work, and there was no planning, there was no nothing. So now you're sort of just left out in the open. I was 39 years old when I retired. I had no freaking clue what the hell I was going to do. I have 2 small kids at home. Yeah, I got my pension and everything, and that's wonderful. But I can't retire, especially living in New Jersey. I couldn't live off of my pension.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I lived above my lifestyle. It's just I was supporting a family on my salary alone. And I didn't know what to do. And now all of a sudden, those people who never wanted to leave the police department, I got it. I understand their fear, but I was forced to face that fear head on.
I didn't like, there's a couple things, and I obviously your story is very well known, and mine is lesser known, but the way that we went out, those shadow boxes and the things, it's supposed to celebrate the lifespan of your career. And I don't know if you feel this way, but we left on circumstances not that we chose, but were thrust upon us. I'm not blaming, like, listen, I take credibility for and fault for anything right or wrong that I did. But I feel that when that happens, it's now judged as a blemish retroactively on your entire career. And I don't think that's the case. Like, you did 1,000 good things. Like, we didn't do any corruption. We didn't do anything untoward. But it was a circumstance that was not by our choosing. And those sort of end game things, the clap out, the shadow box, and all this other, it's to celebrate you. And I think, at least in my mind, that's the hardest thing, because I'm not bragging or anything. There's 2 things in this life that I was good at. One of them was being a father, and the second one was being a cop. I was a good cop, a good boss, and I would say an even better father.
Well, that's good, because you're certainly bad at locking the door when you take a piss. You're really bad at it.
You're a checker.
Yeah,
Admit it. You're a deeply closeted checker.
Well, listen, hey, what do you want me to say? I got to look down. I got to see what you're packing. But I think I saw too much because I can't see on my right eye and it keeps twitching.
Yeah, it was bigger than you expected, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's cute.
It's good lighting in the bathroom, Andrew.
It's cute.
Very good at lighting.
So you're out of this job, and what was your episode, 144?
That's correct.
144, if you want to find out why he's out of the job, go watch 144. I don't want to rehash that one. So you're out, you go through your hardships, and when you stop getting paid, how old were you when you were out?
49.
You're 49 years old. You're way too young to retire. You got to figure out a way to support yourself. The anxiety had to hit you.
Like a freight train. Because just like the guys that get themselves in these financial circumstances, it's there's hardly ever any layoffs in police departments. And
we had them.
But they were probably temporary, right? Or did they last?
Yeah, it was a rice bill thing.
Yeah. So but eventually they'll come back.
Unfortunately, the guy they brought back got hit with 22 counts and is now sitting in prison. But that's besides the point. So they probably shouldn't have brought him back.
Yeah, that might have been an audible they could have called on that one. But it's sort of, I don't want to say guaranteed money, but you have a pay scale and all these other things that's built in contracts here in New Jersey. Not the same elsewhere, but it's not guaranteed money, but pretty sure. So when that stops, it throws off your whole life planning, your whole financial planning. You had a family at the time. I had a family at the time. And it's not just about you. It's about being a provider. And I think our work ethic, the way we said with laziness and arrogance, we're providers. And when that's like just emasculating it in itself. And when they take your firearm.
That's like getting your dick taken away.
It really is.
And I know that sounds funny to a lot of people, but it's absolutely true. When your firearm is taken away from you for the final time, for me it was different because you want to talk about demoralizing to a guy who's worked since he was 7 years old. Was the day when I was out from the shooting and I wasn't allowed to work, and I started going through the retirement process. I wasn't allowed to work for almost a year. For just a month for 11 months, I wasn't allowed to work. It was the worst time of my life to sit there and be idle when I'm not doing well mentally. And now I'm worried about my future. My wife doesn't know what's going on with her husband. My kids are, they're just kids. They don't really know what's going on. I was racked with anxiety, just racked with it. But there was one saving grace. There was one saving grace to me. There was an old guy who was a builder. And he's an ex-Marine. He's since passed. His name's Bill Taylor. He would come in and check on me every single day. He was gruff. Like, he was just tell you to your face whatever he wanted to say. And he comes to me one day and he goes, "Hey, I want you to come work with me." I was like, "Okay, you're building a house over there." And I was like, "I'll come help you." And he goes, "No, that's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, you're going to come work with me." And I got involved in building houses with him. So I went to work. But what he did was he got me out of my own head. I've been doing construction in one form or another. I put swimming pools up and I would build stuff. And I've been doing construction in one form or another since I was very young. So it was an easy transition for me. But what I found, though, where I was going through such a bad time, and in a lot of ways, police departments are very oppressive. It's very political. You got to watch your ass. People are constantly trying to stab you in the back. In construction, it was like the antithesis of police work. It was freeing. You had an argument in a construction site, you argued or you fought, and then you went back to work. There was no IA investigations. There was no possibility of termination or charges or anything like that. It was wonderful. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't police work. This isn't police work, but this is something that I could do for the rest of my life because I did enjoy it.
Yeah. The thin blue line is a lot thinner than people might think, right?
I would have to say it's non-existent.
I would agree. I mean, listen, it's just my experience, but the people...
to your face, you go to a police funeral.
Yeah. Everything's rainbows and lollipops and brotherhood and this other thing. But the next thing they're looking for is if they're going to get somebody fired or out, they want their job, they want their pension, and sometimes they want their girlfriend or wife, too.
That happens way too much, yeah.
Yeah. So, even after like sounded like a tragic loss, like a death or something. I said, what are you doing? It's the biggest perps are inside the building, man. Inside headquarters.
Matt Stanislao was in here. and his father was an officer, and he said this thing, and I'll never forget it. When he got the job, his father goes to him and says, "You got this job, and you're going to meet the worst of society. You're going to see man's inhumanity to man. You're going to see the worst of the worst. Then you're going to put your uniform on, and you're going to go hit the streets." And boy, was he right.
Matt Stanislao, I remember his episode, and I even remember a line that sticks from that episode in my mind today. And you were speaking with Matt, and you said, well, cream rises to the top. And Matt's response is, so does scum.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that rang true in my mind.
Yes, it is.
Good episode.
Where it wasn't a true meritocracy. Like, I believe in a meritocracy, you know, the better you do, the higher you rise. Police work isn't like that. It's a lot of times it's how good of an ass can you kiss. And I'm not knocking police work. It's a very, very noble career, but those cops out there, they'll know what I'm talking about. But when you go to other professions, and it turns the volume down on other professions because they're jobs. They're not careers. They're not the purpose-driven life. It turns the volume down. People will get tied up in some of the minutia and the bullshit of everyday work, and they'll think it's the worst in the world. I'm like, even to this day, you know, being 13 years removed, I will look at them and go, bro, you got no idea what the fuck you're talking about, because you want to see some really bad people, go be a cop.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's one of the things it did. But being gone so long, I get annoyed more than I should. In the beginning of my current job, I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't want to get involved in this stuff. This is stupid. Have you found that in your post-police career?
When there's sort of like deadlines, listen, it's money driven. I understand like private sector is it's a profit driven thing. It's entrepreneurial or whatever. So the object is to make money. And if something goes wrong, there's probably less money, or that's going to be a factor. And I've said this a couple of times, and that I might even cut against my own arrogance thing. But like if somebody isn't going to get at what they call a deliverable, and I hate the corporate speak, man, these corporate psycho babble drivel about deliverables and team this and team that, like, and they'll talk about a deadline or something that's missed or something that's really ministerial. And I thought, I was like, I used to like save people's lives from burning cars and crush people's chests to try and put life back in their heart. Like, this is nothing. And we've faced people, you a little more directly with your story, but I faced people that wanted to kill me. Like in car chases and all these other things, like they wouldn't have been mad if I was dead. Like we saved lives, you know. Like, it's not being a hero or any of that stuff. It's part of our job. But I said, this is such utter bullshit that we're even having a conversation about this. And I understand the dynamic, but it drives me up a wall sometimes.
I find myself saying these days, "You fucking kidding me?"
Yeah.
You know, I find that more and more and more. But, you know, listen, we still have bills to pay.
Agreed.
All right? It's just not a career. Like, even what I'm doing now is not a career. Okay? I don't plan on being there for forever. This is a job. This is a means to an end. If something more purpose-driven comes along, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. Now, do you think that there's any job out there for you as you sit today, being a 90-year-old man, that would give you the... I'm sorry, I'm just going by... I don't know your exact age. I'm just going by the way you look.
You're doing the bad math, like the tip on the check.
Yeah, exactly.
You carried too many ones.
Do you think that there's another job out there for Tom Flynn that would give you the same purpose and desire and fulfillment that police work gave you? Because this is something that all police are going to have to deal with at one point in their life. I don't know. I know one cop who is retired and retired. One.
Fully, like no work, no nothing.
Stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
That's him. Stay-at-home dad. Taking the kids to soccer practice. That's what he does. But everybody else gets a job. And you listen, you've heard this from cops too. It's like, when I retire, I'm going to retire. I'm like, no, you're not.
It lasts for about 2-3 weeks, maybe a month tops.
I tell everybody who's going to retire, I said, listen, take 3-4 months off. You earned it. You did your time. But don't set anything in stone, because the honey-do list that you think you have is not as big as you think it is. And you're going to need to do something, because that's how police die. But that's the big problem, right? So It's one of the untracked metrics in the police world is the amount of retired guys taking their life. Mike, all right? Because they get their purpose stolen away from them. And they don't know what to do, and they're going 100 miles an hour, and all of a sudden they're going, stop. So that's a problem. The problem is they don't have that purpose-driven life anymore.
Absolutely. Listen, you know my story and how we met and how things happened. And I enjoy not my story and telling about my journey, but it is almost the perfect intersection. I love this whole podcasting thing and getting on air and telling our story on other platforms as well. And I thought it was a heaping pile of bullshit when I first heard about it. I said, this is the stupidest thing. It's not lucrative by any means.
Nope.
It is a grind, and you put in the lion's share undisputedly with the work on this platform. But all the shit that I went through with my incident, I'm now thrust into a world of podcasting, cops, trauma, suicide, addiction. And I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe you were just given that career in law enforcement that was, you expected it to be longer, but that was your boot camp. And somehow, you know, the powers upstairs decided that we're going to cross paths. And I started liking this thing. I said, it's a blend of what we've been through, and now you actually get to tell other people about it, and perhaps there is some good that can come from our traumatic experiences.
It's fulfillment, right? So one of the things that I loved about police work was the fulfillment and the purpose that it gave me. And I know I've used that word purpose 7,000 times already, but that's what the police work was to me. And while I floundered for several years after retirement, I was still always searching for that job that was going to give me that same feeling, that same rush, the adrenaline rush. And to some extent, that will never be replicated. But I got to be honest with you, podcasting and speaking and going on other platforms is close. It's a close second. Allowing somebody to sit across from me and tell their deepest, darkest secrets to me, and somehow we find hope in it. We find light in what they're saying, their resilience and their overcoming adversity and all those different things. It is a very, very close second. If there was a way to make a living at doing this, I'm all in. I'm all in without making money.
Yeah.
You know? So why not? Why wouldn't I be in to make a living where I could support my family, because it doesn't feel like work to me. Being a cop, some days were rougher than others, but being a cop never felt like work to me. This doesn't feel like work to me. I work my ass off, but I work twice as hard at this job as I did at my police job, because there's no margin of error. You know? There's very little margin of error in police work, but you screw up a report, you got somebody to catch you. You fall on this, you fall flat on your back.
Well, this platform, and especially when we were talking about the backstage pass to the show of life, the people that are on here as guests, these are people that you walk past in the supermarket. They're your next door neighbor. Maybe you see them bringing out the garbage can. When you're a cop, you either get called to them on a critical incident, either by them or somebody else, or it's just some critical incident like a car accident or something like that. These are the people that you'd ordinarily pass by. And this is also a backstage pass, because you find out, hey, this is your common man, your common woman, and they're going through a lot of deep shit.
I think the big point in all of it is there is life after these first responder jobs, these police jobs. There is life. It might take you a couple years, but don't look for something that's going to be replicated, because it's never going to be replicated. There is stuff that comes close second, and maybe it's a little bit more lower speed, which is good because we're getting older. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Where I have a different view. I look at it this way, like you just said with the boot camp. Maybe I was never meant to be a cop. A cop was being a conduit into doing what I'm doing now, going out with Sherry and teaching classes, or going up and speaking in front of an audience, or going on camera at the left coast or something like that. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do because I get a lot of joy out of it. And maybe I was just pushed in that direction a little earlier than I expected, because who knows? I could have been that 30-year guy that says, I don't want to leave. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, you'd be retired in Florida giving people bad tips.
Yeah, exactly. Go and eat dinner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So who knows? I mean, and same thing goes for you. And that's why one of the things I really, but really just chaps my ass about you is when you are self-deprecating. I don't like when you're yeah, I break your balls all the time, and it's because I find it funny, and you're one of my better friends in the world. But I don't like when you do it to yourself, okay? Because to me, it feels like you're putting yourself down. Maybe you were never meant to be a cop. It's a hard truth, right? Maybe
That's a tough one to swallow.
maybe you were never meant to be a cop.
Yeah.
Maybe being the cop was the training ground to do what your really purpose, your real purpose in life. You know, whatever that looks like for you. And just because you went through some darkness doesn't mean that all the days in the future are going to be dark. You know, that cloud does eventually dissipate and the sun's going to shine through. And I think that's where you go. But yeah, I'm just going to punch you in the face next time you're self-deprecating. That's all I'm going to do.
Listen, I'm training. I'm going to get there. At least maybe I'll slow you down. You had said that we were on one of our road trips and we were going someplace, and we kind of talked a little bit about what we're talking about now. And I said, I don't know what it is, man. I said, this thing, I did like training as a cop. Like I liked doing the FTO thing, and I actually liked giving presentations on case law and everything else. And it was higher ranking people. And I enjoyed because they had epiphanies. You could see the little light bulbs going on when you tell them something. So maybe like a public platform or something isn't that foreign. But we were on this road trip, and we were going back and forth, and I said, I'm really starting to like this. Like I enjoy it.
Had to be Chicago.
I think it was a shorter one. It was in New Jersey.
Maybe the Camden County Warriors, the Michael McCausland Foundation.
That could have been it. Yeah, which was a pretty cool event as well. But you kind of went through this thing, and you said, you know, I said, I don't know what it is. There's something that's sort of igniting a fire in me. And you said, well, what it gives you is just like you said, purpose. And I had the light bulb that went off when you said that. It is purpose. It's something you like. Compensation is minimal, if any, but you pour your heart into it and you enjoy doing it. It's a human connection. Anything, a salary is fleeting. Yes, it pays the bills and all that. Human connections, the connections of the guests, the connection of the production staff, all our circle, you know, Bobby, Mike, all of it.
But you see people come into your life too. You see people come into your life through this show that you would never interact with ever. If you were a cop, you would have never interacted with them. People come into your life, and there's a reason. There's a complete reason why you're there. And this has happened on several different occasions. Some people are very surface and, hey, nice to meet you stuff. But then there's other ones that sort of stick with you like glue. You know, that happens when Sherry and I go out. You know, Sherry and I say this all the time. We're there for one person. We don't know who that person is. And we you know, it will reveal itself. On the last one we just did with the New York State Attorney General's office, we left there going, maybe this is the one where we didn't meet anybody. It was today. I get a random phone call from a number I don't have stored in my phone. I usually don't pick them up. For whatever reason, I picked it up, and that was our why right there. And the same thing with the show. You know, you never know who you're reaching out there. You never know who's listening. But then eventually it reveals itself, and you're like, oh, that's why I do it. We were just fortunate enough to have a job that we loved, that was purposeful, that gave us fulfillment, that we got paid for. All right, it's a little different here, but I stick, and I'm gonna close with this. Indian Larry, the bike builder, died in 2005 from a motorcycle accident. I remember they used to do that thing on Discovery Channel called the Biker Build-Off.
Yeah, I remember it.
It was right before he died, and they aired the episode, and he said, if you do what you love, the money will follow. We were fortunate to have the money and then did what we love. So it happened in reverse with Police World, but here it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I'll stick with it as long as it still has that purpose. Once that purpose is gone, it's time for me to move on.
It'll probably transition into something else. It's either closely related or it'll be something.
Porn.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. Discount.
Stunt work. And I'm looking to get stunt work in porn.
Sure.
There's a lot of dangerous acts going on there.
There is.
Yeah. So, Tom, where can our audience find you?
So they can head over to my website, thetomflynn.com. They can find me on Instagram at thetomflynn, also Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as TikTok and Clapper.
It's about time. How about OnlyFans?
Well, listen, that was reserved for one man only.
It's called The Bathroom Is Not Locked.
Yes. It's a basement website.
Yes,
And
yes.
where you find your true passion, which is the message on my mug. True passion.
So we're going to end this where we're both going to answer this question.
All right.
You know, we have both had post-police careers. That some of them good. I've had a couple of, you know, I was a mason foreman and I had my current job and I did a couple other build houses. And we've had a couple other jobs that didn't really pan out to be careers. But this suffering that you went through in order to walk out into this unknown abyss of a post-police career, it has its suffering in there. And I know it's taught you something because I know you well enough to know that you pull lessons out of everything. What do you think that suffering of finding that post-police career has taught you?
It is just what I said, true passion. I would say I did have a true passion for being a cop, but it wasn't in the cards for longevity. And the police career ends. Something like this, or getting the message, or having these human connections, I mean, that'll go until you draw your last breath. The other ones are fleeting. There's a timer on it as soon as you start it. And I feel that this one, in some form or fashion, will follow me throughout until I'm able to get out of bed and do something. This gives me true intrinsic reward. Even the back end stuff that nobody sees and the stuff that might be a little more public.
I'm going to stick with this because you're always pushed in the direction where you're supposed to be. And I believe, you know, no matter what's going on in your life could be in complete chaos. There's a reason for it. You just can't see it yet because you haven't given it enough time. And we're out there looking for something in your post-career, right? We're looking for that next. And that next might not always be evident. And then one day you open your eyes and you'll be like, oh, there it is. There it is. It doesn't look the same as what you thought that career was going to be, the career that you had. It doesn't look the same, but nevertheless, it is every bit as purposeful. And it's taught me just patience, right? So be patient, and whatever is coming your way, wherever you're supposed to be, is going to reveal itself. You just have to hang on. And sometimes you're hanging on with just fingertips. You just have to hang on because it's coming. So Tom, thank you very much for sitting in here with me because I think this is an important topic. I appreciate you. And listen, we got big things to do, right?
Likewise, brother.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, the suffering of post-police careers. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Tom doesn't lock doors. No, first jobs will never be forgotten. Jobs teach us lessons that will last forever. Fear keeps us in our place too long and too often. But most importantly, if you were nothing without the job, then you were never nothing with the job. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson, and of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. We'll see you the next time.